thought that you knew it all.
I'm Madam X from House of the Dreaming, here on Vampire Lounge. Welcome to the collective. We have with us Akira from House Shahaza, originally from Florida, here with us in New York. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being on the collective with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your experiences?
Well, that's a long story, but
How did you get into the vampire community? What were your first steps?
I started back, I believe it was maybe, like to say, 6-7 years ago, and I got into contact with a few prominent members of the community back then, and was introduced to House Shahaza back in, I believe it was 06 or 07, and through personal growth as well as mutual growth with other members of my house, I managed to get a lot of information and met you a couple years back as well.
That's
right. That's
I believe actually you and I met way before, if it was maybe 93, 94, something like that.
It could have been longer. It could have been longer. I'm very spacious when it comes to time, but yeah, it could have been longer. But the experience that I shared with you in that specific gathering was influential to my progression till today, nonetheless. So that's
right, and that was Black Oppet Mass down in Tampa.
Down in Tampa.
At the castle.
At the castle.
That's right. Unforgettable evening. Absolutely. So, what other unforgettable events have you been part of, or have you collected from those days until now?
Well, recently I have been very blessed and fortunate to gather at my own private residence a small group of brothers and sisters from my house in doing a Yule ritual to celebrate the longest night of the year, and it was very successful. Great energy, great people, and just a great camaraderie, and that was one of the more social events that have definitely evolved me up until today.
Well, this is very interesting. I'm sure that our viewers would be very interested in knowing a little bit more about ritual work and vampirism. Can you tell us a little bit about ritual work and vampirism? What does it mean to you personally?
Well, when it comes to ritual work, what's important first and foremost is the kind of tradition you followed, or the surrounding environment and influences, because a lot of the cases you may find that there are certain environments that lack a ritual format or even a philosophical tradition that would be the foundation of a ritual. So it's important to figure out where exactly you stand on vampiric philosophy and vampiric psycho-spiritual experience. There are many organizations, House Shahaza among them, and as well as your house, House of the Dreaming, and House Akira, which engage in active liturgical or ritualistic practice. So when you find yourself in a group setting like that, what's important to note is that it's not necessarily just about the energy, although it is a very small or a very large part, I should say, of the ritual, but it is also a time where you can actually explore your nature with others on a ground, face-to-face basis. With this day and age of internet, it's very unique to find yourself in a physical camaraderie with your spiritual brothers and sisters.
Now, it's very interesting that you're saying brothers and sisters, and I know that there's a lot of solitaire vamps out there who want to engage in ritual practices, and they want to gather others around them so that they can go ahead and engage in ritual practices. What do you think is the importance of the dimension between individuals engaging in vampiric rituals? Do you think that's very important, the people that you choose to participate in rituals? Do you think that people should have a specific function or a specific calling within each ritual? Different roads, or?
Well, I think that solitary practice is very important because you need to know yourself, and you need to know what you are capable of, what you're comfortable with, and the environment at which you're willing to place yourself in. So when you're practicing solitary, that is a time of your own self-reflection, of your own ideas and ideals of what you think you might be able to connect with. So when you go out seeking other individuals, you already have a sense of self that you don't lose yourself among the fray, because there are many other people out there with different ideas than your own, with different traditions. So in order for you to be receptive, you need to know if you're willing or capable of being receptive in the first place. So after you cross that bridge, now comes the time of, okay, where do I go from there? Where do you go? You contact people. You will begin contacting people perhaps online, which is a very suitable way to access the outside world. Mm-hmm. And you can go ahead and interact with people first, not necessarily when it comes to ritual. Get them out for a cup of coffee, or could be a mutual event or whatnot. And then when you are ready, or when they feel ready that you can be admitted among them, then you will slowly first begin maybe as an observer, just observing the outside, their tradition, their practices in their ritual space. And then maybe once you're more involved and even more importantly more comfortable with their practices, you can actually actively participate in whatever ritual is taking place. Now, when it comes to roads, there's many different theories out there on the subject. Well, obviously, the roads or the caste system being the Kitra, the Muradu, and the Ramkat. Now, many houses, as well as many different traditions, hold the roads to be certain aspects of vampiric standing within a ritual, like the functions of the Kitra, the counselor, the Muradu, the guardian, and the Ramkat, the priest. So here is where my take kind of differs, which states that essentially those three roads and those caste systems are actually the archetypes of the vampiric condition.
What do you mean by archetypes?
Archetypes are essentially the psychological model in which we fit ourselves in. If we look, for instance, in the counselor or Kitra, that is the nurturing aspect of the vampiric dragon, of our dragon within. The guardian or the Muradu is our protective nature, or sometimes our warring nature, depending on how frenzied you are at a certain issue or individual or situation, or in fact environment. And then you have the Ramkat, a very authoritative position. It could be leadership, both in ritual as well as socially, but that is also an aspect of the dragon within. So the reason I view it more as an archetype or as a model is because it's something very malleable, something that can be very much fitted into, like a nice glove, because of the fact that even though some people say, well, I'm more Ramkat, I'm more Kitra, I'm more Muradu, it's important to note that no, you're in fact all three, and you should be encouraged to seek all three. You might have an affinity with different roads. Myself, Ramkat seems more fitting, but just because I feel more at home with Ramkat should never denote the fact that I should put more emphasis on that archetype than the other three, because especially if you're solitary and you're doing rituals or spiritual practice solitary, you have to act on all three. or else your dynamic, your ritualistic dynamic might go off the grid.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You actually mentioned a lot of the different philosophies which also apply to House of Dreaming, so it's actually very good to hear you saying that you have those perspectives. We really believe, you and I both, it seems, that we really believe that an individual should not just be a part of something, but should be a complete individual, trying to be as rounded as possible. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for sharing your views, which I feel are very important. And perhaps you'd like to come and sit with us again so that we may continue our conversation.
Of course.
And thank you very much for joining us here on The Collective. I'm Madam X from House of the Dreaming, and you can find us on Vampire Lounge. Don't forget, if you or someone you know is interested in being on The Collective, we can't wait to zoom in on your perspectives. See you soon.